Starry Yan. I'm a reporter with Xingtao Daily. You just said cost of living is an important issue in this district. So I have a question about the congestion fee. And we all know many residents in 3rd District, they commute to Manhattan by car. So the congestion fee would have an impact on them. I remember Mazi recently said you were a big supporter of congestion pricing. So do you have anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, I like the idea of congestion pricing because the idea is try and reduce the congestion in Manhattan and generate funds that can be used for mass transit like the Long Island Railroad, for example. The problem is in the implementation. We have to make sure that we implement it in a proper way. So if we implement it, it's not going to happen for another 6 months or so, but if we implement it, we have to do a couple things. We have to protect people that must go to work every day and use their car in the central business district and make less than $75,000 or $100,000 a year. We have to try and protect the people that go to work early in the morning before the congestion starts. They shouldn't have to pay a fee if you're traveling early in the morning or late at night when there's no traffic. So for example, school teachers have to get to work often at 7 o'clock in the mornings, and that means they commute at like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning. So they shouldn't have to pay a fee because they're not contributing to the traffic. And they're often leaving in the middle of the day, not at the 5 o'clock rush hour. So I think they should be protected. And you have to also protect small business people that are in the central business district, that it doesn't hurt their businesses because of these restrictions, especially if they're arranging for deliveries and employees to come before the rush hour begins. So what's the purpose of congestion pricing? The purpose of it is to stop congestion and to generate fees for mass transit. Those are the two things. If people are traveling in the off hours, they shouldn't have to pay as big a fee. You know, if you're going to work in the middle of the night at 12 o'clock at night, or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 in the morning, you shouldn't have to be subjected to that. And if you're a low-income person that has to go to work every day and must use your car, say you're in the delivery business, for example, or your business requires delivery, you shouldn't have to pay that fee.
And because I've been working on this issue in Congress, I asked Secretary of Agriculture Vilsack, what is the threat of Chinese ownership of agricultural land? It's actually under 1%. So to make this an overly broad bill and law, it's a bill in Texas, law in Florida, where people of Chinese descent who are not citizens yet are not allowed to buy a house, is ridiculous. There's a lawsuit going on. Many of our Chinese community leaders have been fighting this. They just went to Florida 2 weeks ago. I think ACLU and some other groups have a lawsuit. They're fighting this. You know, of course, we need to make sure that American interests are protected, but preventing Chinese people from buying land, Chinese Americans, is not the way to go. And to be clear, this is a Republican-led effort in Texas and in Florida. They have tried this on my Appropriations Committee in Congress. It is the Chinese Exclusion Act 2.0.
And it's really very discriminatory against Chinese Americans. I mean, think about it, how this would affect people who just want to buy a house for their family. It's just not fair.
I have a similar question. So due to the rise of Asian hate and the competitive relationship between United States and China, some Chinese Americans have been unfairly labeled as spies. For example, the NYPD officer Ang Wang, he lives in the Nassau County in 3rd District.
He's a big supporter of mine. I just saw him the other night, and he's going to do everything he can to help me because he was unfairly targeted, and everybody said he was guilty before he was proven guilty.
Yeah. So some Chinese Americans have encountered similar situations. So if you are elected, what would you do for protecting the Chinese Americans from such discrimination?
I will do the same thing I've always done, and will do more. I will speak out against anti-Asian hate. I've co-sponsored Grace's legislation that she had specifically during the coronavirus when remember, it was Donald Trump and the Republicans who were saying things like the Chinese flu and Kung flu and things like that, and spoke out against that, also sponsoring legislation that Grace proposed, and worked, like I always have, to promote equal rights and protection under the law for all citizens.
So the Biden administration got rid of something called the China Initiative. This was something that was overly broad and led to many of these, for example, scientists who were accused of espionage. Many of them, as you know, lost their jobs. They got in trouble because maybe they forgot to fill out a form or something like that. So we've been trying to make sure that there is not a China initiative because this is something that has been overly broad and has punished innocent Chinese Americans.
There's also a current, like there in Congress, there's a discussion about China Initiative number 2, right,
Yes.
going on, which is very, very dangerous. And I think in Florida, currently, is either law or is it under consideration that there's the students, certain students from China and other 6 countries are prohibited by working in certain labs, which is very broad. You may think that those are students just from China, but the problem is that if that law is established, all Chinese, right, will be impacted because people will be afraid that you'll be associated with China or Chinese students. So those are something that I hope that we have a strong backer in Congress and in the states to prevent that from happening.
There's really been a breakdown in our country against Chinese Americans as well as other groups ever since President Trump took office because of the type of language he uses, and he's encouraged really negative stereotyping of all different groups. And so it requires us to stand up against not just one thing, but all of this different negativity that has been fostered by the isolationists and the Republican Party.
And sorry to add one thing, I know, like, you know, we all care about America being a strong country and America being competitive. When Republicans are proposing these bills, they are singling out people of Chinese American descent. So, for example, if you want to ban foreign ownership of land, ban it all, right? Don't just single out one people because it puts a target on our backs.
And again, this is personal for me because during World War II, nobody talks about it, but much like the Japanese Americans, the Italian Americans were moved from their homes who lived on the coast in California. Their homes were taken away from them. And some people were actually put in camps during World War II. So Italian Americans faced a lot of discrimination, much like Chinese Americans today faced discrimination because of international politics. So we have to be very careful, you know, as Grace said, we have to protect American interests. We have to respect that we're in a competition with China, but we can't treat people like they're less than human beings. I mean, America is founded on the concept that all men and women are created equal. It's not that all men and women with a green card are created equal, or all men and women with a passport are created equal, or all men and women of speak a certain language are created equal. All human beings are created equal, and everybody has to be treated with human respect and dignity.
Hi, Grace Jin from the China Press. My question is about public safety issue. So what is the strategy you are going to do if you are selected?
You know, I was the mayor of my hometown, a little small city of Glen Cove out on Long Island, and I oversaw the police department out there. And we were one of the safest communities in the country. I was the Nassau County executive. I oversaw the 12th largest police department in the country. And when I was the county executive, we reduced the crime rate to the lowest crime rate of any community over 500,000 people anywhere in the United States of America. When I ran for governor of New York most recently, my #1 issue was to protect public safety because I'm not happy with some of the laws that they had changed to let people out of prison after they committed multiple crimes. So I will always speak out in favor of law enforcement. I will promote law enforcement, and I will sponsor legislation in Congress to bring money back to New York State for the state and local governments so that they can fund law enforcement.